Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the coffee break and had the opportunity to network. Hopefully we'll have more time for networking after the event. Let's jump right into the first panel, a discussion about fostering the talent of the future. Unfortunately, Professor Cristina Albuquerque won't be able to join us due to last-minute professional commitments. However, we are lucky enough to be joined by the Pro-Rector from the University of Coimbra, Professor Gabriela Fernandes. She joins the panel together with Filipa dos Santos Cunha and Vanessa, Executive Director at Escola 42, under the guidance of moderator John Paul, Chairman of the IPBN Porto Committee. Together, they'll tackle critical questions like how effective are different approaches in preparing the future workforce? How do we foster creativity, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills in young minds? And how can technology enhance learning experiences while ensuring inclusivity and accessibility for all? Welcome.
Thanks a million. Welcome to the first panel. I suppose I'll start off with a very short story from Irish mythology. In the presence of the ambassador, I hope I get this story right, but it's a story that we all learn in Ireland when we're very young, and it's about a salmon, so a salmo, one fish that in mythical Ireland used to jump and swim through all the rivers and all the lakes of Ireland, and it had all the knowledge in the world. And if you were able to catch this salmon, and eat the salmon, you would have all the knowledge you could ever dream of from all the world. So two people chased that salmon. One was Finn and his servant Fionn. And again, a number that keeps coming up today is the number 7. And for 7 years, these two chased this salmon around the waters all across Ireland. And one day, they found the salmon, they caught the salmon, and Finn said to Fionn, I want you to go and cook the salmon. But under one important rule, do not eat the salmon, because the person who eats the salmon gets the knowledge. So he didn't want his servant to get the knowledge. So Fionn came along and cooked the salmon. And as he was cooking it, he put his thumb on the salmon to check if it was cooked. And when he did, he burnt his thumb. And he put his thumb in his mouth. And he got all the knowledge. So that Fionn became Fionn McCool, who's a mythical character from Ireland, but the famous leader of Na Fianna. So now, I suppose, Generation Z, Portuguese students and kids, they don't have to go up to the Douro Valley and into the river, or here in Cream into the river fishing. They just need to lift their phone, and with their thumb, like Fionn, they just go like this. And a whole world of information and knowledge comes to them at their fingertips. So, Gabriela, if you want to start as a lecturer in university, in one of the oldest universities in the world, how has your role as a lecturer and educator changed when you have kids who have so much knowledge at their fingertips, sitting maybe in a lecture hall for 2 hours? How are they, what is Generation Z, and how are they educated?
Hi, good morning to all, and good morning. Thank you, John, for this question that is very tricky. I used to say to students that sometimes teachers only needs, for get their attention, needs to do the, how do you say, the pino? In Portuguese, do you know what it is? Puts the heads on, because it's impossible. I think asking for a student to be in a class for 2 hours, listening a lecture, is no more possible. Because I think that this generation, it has a lot of advantage of this generation, that is, they're born with the technology, right? So they are, how do you say, they're born and they give them the technology to their hands. And this brings knowledge, as you said. So kids have the knowledge very easily, all the information they have. But also has some disadvantage, big disadvantage of having this, which is the focus. Like kids anymore are able to sit just 2 hours for getting knowledge for somebody. So the lecture is no more possible. A teacher, I will say, think that some students be in the class listening the professor for 2 hours. So the rule completely changed. So I used to say even to my students that the classroom is inverted. So it's not more focus in the professor, but it's focus on the students. So we for example, in my case, and a lot of my colleagues, I'm from the Science of Technology faculty, and of course this differentiated from different knowledge areas, but in this faculty, a lot of professors, they adopt project-based learning that we are talking about today already, team-based learning. They are, how do you say, learning by each other. So the professor is more a facilitator because he needs to, how to say, he needs to be a facilitator in that room. So the room is no more centered in the professor, it's centered in the students, and the students, as we see, they need to learn with different approaches, project-based learning, team-based learning, and be able, and one thing that I think the professor needs to be, and Filipa was saying this morning, needs to be a mentor also. Not just a facilitator, but needs to be a mentor. Needs to be a person that gives, how do you say, the capacity for the student to think 10 times more. You know, like giving the passion, you know, the passion that I love to hear Filipa in this morning, you know. People need to be passionate for what they are doing, and the professor needs to give this to students, needs to show them that they need to be in love for what they are doing. You know, like if they are not liking, we are always able to change our career, and they need to push them to be patient for what they are doing. Learning them that is very important, persistence and a lot of patience, because a lot of our students, and because of technology, they are less patient. So when getting knowledge is a thing of patience, reflection, and a lot of persistence to get there. So I think that the lecture needs to change for this rule of facilitator and the mentor more than, how do you say, just delivering knowledge, because the knowledge is in the fingertips of the students.
Yeah. And Filipa, this is an amazing room. You know, I can't imagine what it's like as a kid to be learning in this environment. And I suppose changing children's perception of education, and perhaps, you know, kids' perception, certainly when I was growing up, is, you know, school and learning is not a positive thing, you know, whereas I hope that's changing with the work you're doing here. You know, when I remember, I'm a musician, and when I was young, my mum she's a piano player, and she used to have me sitting down at a piano and, you know, trying to make me play these classical pieces. And I remember, I think there's a picture that's dear to my heart now, but I think I had tears in my eyes and my mum standing over me. And so, you know, learning Mozart, I quickly gave that up because I think the girls wanted to hear Phil Collins, not Mozart, if I was at a party. So. But I suppose it's getting the mix right, because, you know, from my point of view now, I can't read music, and I think there's a real advantage that you know, the blending of traditional education versus, you know, a more modern, if you call it that, view of education is important. In Ireland also, from a music point of view, because that's my background, we have now a program called Music Generation, where we're opening up instrument banks, so banks of these amazing instruments that are like a library, where you can go as a kid and you can take out the best Fender guitar, Gibson guitar, recording equipment, and it's going to have such an immediate effect, basically, in Ireland on this next generation. So I suppose with TUMO, that's what you guys are doing. You're starting a new generation of innovator, of leader. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about TUMO on what you discussed earlier on in your presentation?
Yeah. One of our purposes, of course, is like to, as I said, to give this knowledge in a free way to these students, but also to influence the community, the schools, universities, and people around us how to make the learning process more fun and more related with our needs today. This is more like a political thing, because I believe everything is political. It's not for just the politicians. And of course, we cannot compare ourselves to the public school, and we cannot compare ourselves, in case of TUMO, we cannot compare ourselves to the university, so we have different, it's a different pressure. So I cannot compare, oh, my students are very motivated, and I can compare myself with the public school. I cannot do that. This is very unfair. But we can try to have a different approach, a different training. We are trying to say that if you train your staff in a different way, and if you train the students to use the technology and the computers in a different way, maybe this can work for a public school or for a university, etc. We have different challenges. We have also challenges regarding the technology, of course. So sometimes you can see the students, of course, with the computers, but they are very addicted to the phones. So we have the same problem that the schools, they already have. I also talk with some principals and some teachers, and they are saying, I'm talking to my students, but they are always like this. Always like this. And we're going to have serious problems with the back in the future years. And like our responsibility is not to take the equipment from the students, but trying to teach them how to use it. It's the same with a car. It's the same with the laundry machine. Right? Please don't put potatoes in your washing machine. Please don't drive drunk. Yes, so please don't use your phone when you are in the class. So you need to take the notifications. It's like an adult, right? So we have the same problem. Sometimes we are at work and the notification pling, 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 and we are trying to talk with someone. Is like, let me see if it's urgent. So we need to teach the students how to use the equipment, because the equipment is there to serve us, not the other way around. So in summary, our goal, yes, is to offer this opportunity, but also to influence our partners around us, our community, for a new, a different way of learning and to use technology.
And these young people, my example of being brought kicking and screaming to a piano lesson, I feel, are the parents encouraging these kids to come and learn at TUMO, or are they enthusiastic participants? I mean, we talked in a previous conversation about, in after school, you're potentially competing with other after school events. Mm-hmm. You're probably competing with the next future Galeno of FC Porto or other sports. I mean, how does, what's the background maybe of the students, and are they enthusiastic participants within TUMO?
Sometimes the parents are more enthusiastic than the students, and sometimes I receive some calls from the parents saying, I was very excited for TUMO, but maybe you need to open lessons for adults, not for the students. But the students are very, in general, very enthusiastic. We need to train with them the resilience, because everything is very new. And very innovative, but they need to work. They need to train the resilience, like they train it at school and universities, etc. So sometimes when they failed the programming workshop, they don't need to cry, because failing, it's a normal process in our lives. It's happened at work when we try the first time and the second time, and sometimes we need to go back home and study a little bit more, or prepare yourself for a meeting, for something. So they need to understand that failing, it's good.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Not as important.
So of course they are. So we are receiving very good feedback from the students. Actually, we are collecting some surveys from the students, and one of the things that they say that they like the most here is the environment, a very calm environment, and the second thing is the people. The people is very kind, and they talk with kindness. I was very shocked. If they notice this different at TUMO, I cannot imagine what is happening sometimes in other learning environments. So if the first thing is it's the environment, it's good, it's a good environment to learn, I'm very happy for this result.
And so the passion that both yourself and Gabrielle develop brings me to you, Vanessa. You see the students coming through. Do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of the 42? And I mean, I think it's so impressive that, you know, one of the stats was 80% of the people have jobs before they even complete the course. So do you want to give us a little bit more information?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So 42 was created 10 years ago in Paris in a context of a huge gap of software engineers, and combining that with the purpose of giving the opportunity to all the ones that want to learn software engineering, but don't want to go in the traditional university to get that, because they don't have economic conditions to that. They didn't have the grading on the secondary school, or they went to have a different job and now they want to restart again. So that's the context of the 42 purpose. The idea of creating a school where with a disruptive model, you have the best software engineers in the market. By best, I mean not only the technical skills they learn on the course, but especially the soft skills they need to have for life, like the resilience that TUMO is already putting in place as well. The way they see failure, the way they learn, the way they go and have curiosity on understanding better, understanding deeply the concepts, the technical concepts. So this is the goal, to have this profile. This 42 student has a profile not only in terms of technical skills, but also in terms of soft skills. And how we get there. So the idea is creating, I would use the disruptive words a lot, but I think it's absolutely critical to have a disruptive model where you learn in a different way. And by that I mean, yes, we work on a project-based learning, so there's a lot of challenges all day, a lot of gamification, creating the sense of I need to go and do myself. I will not wait and be told how I have to make that path. It's a lot of peer-to-peer learning, so yes, from day one, we have, I don't know, 70% of our candidates never have written a line of code. So they are absolutely blind, and they enter on the process that is the PSIN, the selecting process, and day one, they have to start forcing themselves to ask for help and to change knowledge on a daily basis, on ongoing basis. So this peer-to-peer has a second stage, which is if you want to progress, you will be evaluated. And if you want to be evaluated, you will be evaluated by your peers first, and then by the machine. If this code is correct, you will pass. But this permanent feedback, this permanent evaluation, and saying you are wrong here, maybe you should do like that. And it's funny because you have feedback and evaluation not only from the ones that are with more knowledge than you, but also with the ones that have less knowledge than you. So at the time you are giving feedback, you are also learning and are asking, how did you do that? Oh, okay. When I get there, I will use this. So it's interesting to see that this profile is a different profile. One of the things that 42 is in Portugal since 2021. So we started in Lisbon. 1 year and a half later, we opened 42 Porto as well. So today we have more than 1,000 students, and we are getting, since last year, the first graduates. And what would we see at the first kickoff? So every year we have 2 kickoffs, one in April and another one in October, where we put more than 500 students, new students, every year in our course. What we saw the first time we started was humans with a lot of scary faces. So they start by saying, I don't know, I don't have a clue how this works. I will Google it. And I will go to ChatGPT. So this concept of not asking for help is something that you have to learn on the primary school or in the secondary school. So we are not prepared to ask for help, especially men on traffic, but also the other ones. We are not prepared for that, and we don't have that ability to say, look, I don't know anything about it. And the other one will say, I don't know either. Let's ask the third and the fourth. And that model of saying, together we will find the answer, is probably one of the most struggling things that we have. The second one is planning. So the 42 model, you choose how you will create your path, your learning path. You will choose if you want to come every day, if you want to come at night, morning, so you create your learning path. By the way, we don't have teachers. It's everything based on the subjects and on this peer-to-peer learning. And one of the things that we struggle most is our students, and we are talking about people that come straight away out of secondary, others that had already been working a couple of years, some that are changing from technical engineering and now they want to have this complementary practical course. What they struggle the most is, how do I plan myself? I don't have a clue, and a lot of them at the beginning, they just don't, they tell me what is expected for me. Do you expect to come, 40 hours a week? Mm-hmm. So this planning, this way we somehow, the methodology and the pedagogy of 42 is you have to find out yourself. But it's not easy, because we saw the first courses, the cohorts, people struggling a lot on planning, on be able to say, I will accomplish this and that at the end of year 1. So it's expected for you to end in 42 months. And that's it. That's the only clue you have. So yeah.
We were talking on the coffee break, just about, Gabrielle, you were saying in Portugal, like Ireland in certain respects, like education it's so important. And, certainly my parents, both teachers, there's always like steps, and, primary school, secondary school, exams, university, and then it's like, family, buy a house, die.
Don't say that.
Sometimes traditionally, there's, things would be laid out very clearly in steps, and I think the world is quite different now. So perhaps you mentioned about like real life and the importance that you don't study and get a 1-1 in college and you come into industry and suddenly you're going, wait a second, or maybe it's not you that's saying, wait a second, it's the business that's saying, wait a second, you don't know how to manage your time, you don't know how to, meet these objectives, you don't know how to think outside of, the box. So, Gabrielle, do you want to discuss that in terms of, you know, like your own background in bringing business and practical cases to your students to ensure that there's much more of a synergy from as early as possible with industry?
Yeah. Yes, from my background, actually, I'm not academic. I didn't start in the academy. Actually, I started the first year, but I always want to go to the industry. I had 10 years from industry, and then I made my PhD, you know, like the step of PhD, and I became my academic career. But I always, when I was in the industry, I always believed that there was a need to link with the university. So when I was in the industry, I always pushed to link the company with the university. And when I become in the university, my role is actually, my research is on how to make university and industries to collaborate. So I strongly believe that this is the, how do you say, the way for us to do the work. It is impossible to have, how do you say, a student that goes to the university and had the first contact with the industry just at the end of their studies. This doesn't work like this. The industry needs, the university needs to be very linked with the industry. And I can give you a couple of examples that we have in University of Coimbra. And of course, once more, this depends a little bit of the knowledge areas, but I will talk more about Faculty of Science and Technology. That is the faculty that is, how do you say, it's my background. And for example, we always pushed, or even me as a lecturer, I always push my students to be, for example, one of my subjects is strategic and planning. Planning is definitely something that we need to learn very in an early age. But I push students, for example, to go for a company and find a company, and I push them, you know, like, and they say, but professor, you will help me to find a company? No, you go there, you find your contacts. You need to find a company that is willing to receive you for you doing this work. So we, in the University of Coimbra, we try to push our students, even from the first year, to have, you know, these real cases, that they work with real cases with the industry. So this is one thing that we do in the subjects. Even the subjects, we push for students to be, how do you say, in contact with the industry. We always, for example, try to bring, how do you say, people from the industry to give a class, you know, to give their examples. If we are talking about innovation, yeah, I'm related with innovation, strategy, project management. Melin is here too. So we need to, how do you say, if we are talking about innovation management, why we don't bring somebody from the one company and in one class? It's not the lecturer that is delivering, it's a person that is doing actually innovation management in a company and is giving the examples of the students. For example, we try always to push some people from industry to come and talk their examples even in the class to the students, and it's very great. We, for example, we try, for example, to do the, I used to say this push. I know a lot of my colleagues say, Gabriela, you push too much. But it's true. We try to push our students, for example, to do at least the final project, you know, like the last project if they are doing their master studies in a company. So where they are really working, not in theoretical problems or opportunities, but they are working in a company, inside a company, doing their internships in their company. This gives them, how do you say, and I know some areas that they don't push so much the students to do these internships in the companies, but this makes all the difference. You know, if you push the students to do these, how to say, internships, be there, because in person is very important, to be in person and know the problem, feeling the problem in the company. Another thing that we have now in University of Coimbra, what we call it, our factory academy. We even put it there, the word factory, you know, like for giving the word. We have our factory lab. It's a kind of a small factory inside of the university. And the objective is actually, we have some factory partners, industries that are our partners, and the objective of this is we actually look with these partners and see what are, I can give you an example, maybe, and is one of the sponsors of this event, that is PwC. PwC, for example, was saying, okay, Gabriela, when we receive students from University of Coimbra, what we feel is that they don't, are able to work with the technology that we work, that is SAP, for example. They say, okay, the students come and they should have some contact with SAP. So what we have settled with them, so we settle a program, so there are some hard skills that we are not preparing our students to go to the market. So what we see is we identify these hard skills, but not just hard skills, also soft skills, with these companies, and during their bachelor's programs and master program, we try to have these complementary training on these. For example, PwC, we have these trainings program in SAP. So when PwC come to ask an internship of our students, they will pick some student that is already having this program, you know, like that is a side of the common program of the university. So definitely we are, pushing, our university, we are pushing these, connections between industry, trying to understand what are their needs, and with them, not, they make part of the plan. So for example, PwC are them that are delivering the course. It's not our professors, it's them that are delivering. But for example, of course, that we give all the conditions, the context they need for students have this time for doing this extra program of their skills. So this is some examples we push. Also, I'm a prorector for entrepreneurship, so it's my main role and promotion of institutional projects. But my main role is for pushing entrepreneurship for our students, and we try to bring this spirit of entrepreneurial mindset for our students. So we try, for example, push our students, again, you see, push, I'm always pushing. You know, this entrepreneurial mindset, you know, like, because I think this passion that we need to bring to our students, that is the truth.
And in terms of those, like, I believe that myself, the master's that I did was a practical master's working for companies. And I think that's a real shock to your system, you know, where you think you have the knowledge, but actually when you see it in a practical environment with the way and the agility that's required for a business. I mean, what's the resilience, Filipa, with younger students, like the resilience that's required? So I think you mentioned failure, and certainly still in Europe, we probably have a different feeling when you even hear the word failure versus, we'll say, the United States, where you know, their saying is that, you haven't made it until you maybe have been bankrupted a few times. So I think that's something in Europe that we really have to work on, is making our students, or the next generation of talent, more resilient, and to have a different perception of the word, to fail, that actually to fail is to learn. So any insight into that with the students that you see?
Yeah. So we changed the word. So we're not using failure, we are using opportunity. Even for the parents. Sometimes they ask why we failed the workshop of their child, and we say, we just give another opportunity to make it better. And the parents say, okay, thank you. So we are changing a little bit the concept. So like, I truly believe that TUMO are trying to give with some details how the students are going to survive, in life in general. For example, I was thinking about the time management that you talking about. So one of the rules at TUMO that they can, in self-learning, because like TUMO, they have two approaches. We have the self-learning, they doing in here, They have computers, they have a laptop, of course, from TUMO, and they have their learning path because they are like a little bit younger. So we give to them like a path for them. They always know how to do in the session. And they have people here like to ask some questions. And we have the workshops and are more like lectures in a different way, very short. But one of the rules that we have on self-learning is you have the freedom to manage your breaks. Can you imagine the faces of the students, like 14 years old, 13 years old, saying, really? Can I manage my break? Yes, yes you can. And we are here to help you. If we see you're not capable to do this, we can give you feedback on it. It was a little bit scary. And actually, it's working. So, of course, you need some time for everyone. And sometimes we need to give a lot of feedback on some students. But the others, actually, sometimes I'm walking in the corridors or I'm going to the kitchen and I can hear the students, oh, we are here like for 15 minutes, maybe you should go. So they can manage themselves. This is amazing. And when they onboarding the new students, and I already heard another student say, like they are explaining how the TUMO works and say like, you can manage your time. It's very great on self-learning. So they're willing to learn. They can learn different ways. So this is one of the things. And the resilience and are giving with the feedback. So every time they finish an activity, they always have feedback on the next session. So they can actually enter in a path, they can see the feedback, oh, I failed, sometimes they don't understand why they're failing, so you need to train your staff to give a proper feedback. This is a very good training for everyone because saying it's wrong, it's not a feedback. You need to actually do a proper feedback, and during the workshops as well. So the thing that they are not capable to ask for help, we need to start to teach this like they are like babies. Because sometimes we see that, for example, a student this week was like, I really like photography, but I don't have photography in my path. But you need to say it. If you say to the staff, we can change your path. Oh, really? Yes. You need to talk. You need to ask for help. You need to say what are your interests, and you can change it. So please ask for help. So everything it's a process, and I believe when you are very consistent with some details, the results will come.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a very exciting time. Would you agree for students, with technology and where it's at? I mean, to sum up, Gabrielle, thoughts on, I suppose, the importance of collaboration, and maybe where we started was, redefining perhaps educators as facilitators and mentors. And if you want to kind of sum up the conversation in terms of the bright future that we have in front of us.
What I can say, I think I even, I'm picking, sorry, Filipa, picking your discourse. We have, and maybe this is a Portuguese culture thing, parents are too much intrusive in the lives of their kids. Yeah.
That's not just a Portuguese issue.
No. I believe that we are more. I believe, but even if you, it's impossible. At my generation, I don't know if you know, but sometimes we have professors, even in the high school, parents in the high school, trying to reach professors to know why the kid failed in a subject. They are adults. So it's the parents, like. I think that we should, in our case, I think that we should give more freedom to our students to choose their path, to be able to fail. There is no problem to fail. My one thing that we are talking here about music. Music is amazing for creativity. For example, I have my kids. I again push them to a school of music because, like music, we know that gives you, helps you in the creativity. But but you know, kids are, even my daughter, for example, I can give you the example of yesterday. She needs to do next week an exam for going for just the 5th year. So she's only 9 years old. And she just called me and start crying. Mom, if I fail in the exam, I will not get in that school. So you will be sad with me. And I told her, no, you know, like we put too much pressure in our kids. And I said, of course not. This is something that you should enjoy. If you don't get in that school, you will get another school. So, you know, like, and if you don't like music, because I put her in the music when she was very young, when she was 6 years old, but so if you don't like music, you don't do music. So, and we should, how do you say, give them the possibility to fail, because we need to deal with fail. Everybody's fail. And for example, in Portugal, in our culture, we don't give space for failure. Failure is something that is like we don't like to hear. But we need to, how do you say, first, we need to let our kids to choose their path. They need to, how do you say, if they don't want to do music, if they don't want to do IT, they can choose other things. And it's great to have TUMO, you know, because TUMO can give them these, you know, like they can experiment different things, and they can think, okay, maybe I go for this way. But that doesn't have any problem if they change. We see when Melanie made this, a lot of people are changing, and we'll change much more in our career. So we live in a VUCA world. Means we are living in a world that is volatile, that is uncertain, complex, ambiguity is there. So we need to be agile. We need to be our students. We need to prepare the students to know that they are able to learn what they want, if they are young or if they are 50 or 60. We need to, how do you say, prepare for this. And we need to encourage the students to be able to learn by themselves. Even, for example, try always with my students, I always ask, you know, like, we still need, I think that the role of a professor needs to be a little bit directive. We need to, you know, like, I think that is a something, you know, because if you want to learn about innovation management, for example, this subject, we need to try to direct the students what are the importance, what are the competencies that they need to have for doing innovation management. But I always push the students to look for other things. And, you know, like, try to push them to be reflective. I think that what we need to, the professor needs to ask students to be reflective on what they are learning. Is the professor, this is really important? You know, like, I always ask the students, what you are learning is really important. Be reflective on that. What we could learn more. So I think that this idea of changing the way that we are, how to say, the lectures being, you know, like, just doing the path is this. No, we need to say, okay, we can, you know, driving. We need to be agile to live in this world. So it's
just make a curiosity. We in every 42 school we have a piano that's there since day one. Then some brought some guitars and drums, and now you have everything to make a band, which is great. But you were saying you have to create a band. The piano is there, so the piano is not meant to have schedule, or you just see some students sitting and starting playing. And it is funny because 9 out of 10, when you ask, did you have formal lessons on piano? No, I learned it from YouTube tutorials. So it's funny also when you see them training a lot, because it's a fantastic piano. They have the opportunity to play and play. So it's funny also to see how the mindset is already changing on how you learn things fast And just because you put it there and one started and then you have another one and another one, so it's also part of the deal to put some some things, some tips, some subliminal message, and they will follow.
Well, I'm glad we're ending the panel on a musical note. So, because the other thing I suppose about the Generation Z, let's call them, I think giving them credit for what they're achieving. Like, my mum's in her late 70s, and I'm forever sending her TikTok videos of life hacks that are coming from these students who are clearly, like you say with the piano, they're able to look at life's problems and come up with amazing solutions. So I think it's hopefully a bright future ahead. So thank you to the three panelists. I feel like our export of salmon must have touched your lips at some point, given your educations. So thanks a million for an interesting conversation.
Thank you very much, John, Vanessa, Filipa, and Gabriela. Thank you so much.